Shelf.
I think Jason has a question.
Jason Gorber from Canada. Thanks, Baz, for the compliment yesterday. I appreciate it on my shirt. I want to talk about the music.
Someone should redo that show.
Please do Jesus Christ Superstar again. Nothing would make me happier. Let's just
I
throw
have
that
in
out
fact
there.
talked to Andrew years ago about it.
Thank you. Let's just get that on the record. I want to talk about the musicality. I want to talk about the use of music.
Sure.
One of the things that you're very famous for, the fragmentation of tunes, the integration of mashups and all those elements. You had a freedom and a liberty to do that with Elvis's tracks.
Yes.
You did different instrumentation. Can you talk about the challenges of doing that and still making it sound both contemporary and classic?
Yes, great question. The first part is very simple. I mean, you know, people say what they say. And I make my movies, like Sam said, for now, but for the future too. I want them to go on. Now, one of the most important rules of the kind of language that I do is immense historical research. I know I mean, I have a label, House of Iona with RCA. I've had it for years. So I had access to unbelievable takes of Elvis, material you've never heard him sing, the Beatles, things like that. But one of the things that's always important, and I did this on Gatsby, whether you agreed with it or not, but when Fitzgerald wrote and put basically an emerging black street music called jazz into his novel as a relatively young writer, he was criticized for that because jazz, it's going to be a fad. It was sort of, it was like early hip hop. I mean, I did the Get Down, you know, working with Flash and Herc. You know, they thought that music would never get outside the Bronx, right? They were kids. Right? And so now it's the biggest genre in the world. So when I did Gatsby, the whole thing is to respect the music and have the classics. And we have Elvis singing as Elvis. We have Austin singing classic, you know, Hound Dog as Elvis, right? But I also want it to be I want to be present now. I want to, it's what it was, but then the translation, the idea of, say, taking black American street music, hip-hop, which I did with Jay-Z on Gatsby, is what did it feel like? What did that music feel like? Because as terrific as Hound Dog might be, it's charming. At best, you play that song, it's charming or it's got a good beat. Now, by the way, Hound Dog was written by two white Jewish composers, Lieber and Stoller. It was covered by Big Mama Thornton, which is done so wonderfully and played so wonderfully by a gospel singer we discovered in the South, Shonka. Now, when she says the lines in that song, they were sort of edgy, salacious, rude, unacceptable in polite society way of saying, listen, you've been expletive around, right? Don't come sniffing at my door and expect expletive. You can hit the expletive road, Jack. So I have that song in there. But as Austin's walking down the street, Doja Cat is translating it into rap so that younger audiences who really don't know Elvis except for Lilo and Stitch, right? Or maybe there's a video game, he's that guy in the white suit, understand how edgy that music was, what that music felt like at that time. So it's what it was, but what it actually felt like. And so that's why I do it, not to be groovy or to have a groovy album or whatever. I do it because I want a younger audience to feel what it was like. Elvis's early recordings are lovely. They're lovely, but they're polite and charming. But I've got a recording of an interview with Colonel Tom Parker. It's a very rare recording. And he's talking in the foreground. And in the background, you can hear some country and western singers. And then you hear this keening. Keening is the sound of screaming. And Elvis comes on stage. And everything I've read, even speaking to people who'd seen him, I mean, he used to spit at the audience, roll on the ground. He did, in fact, hump that plastic dog. I mean, he was the original punk rocker. And the music was so much more aggressive and feedback and louder and scratchy and crazy. So that's why at Rustwood, everything at Rustwood has a historical reference, but we moved it all into one concert. But that performance at Rustwood, that sort of punk rock performance, that's real. He did that. I just want the audience who don't care about Elvis, the younger audience, to feel what it was like to be there. So that's why I do that work.